One of the primary reasons we have these investor calls is to give an account of how we've managed your money. But we would also like to invite you to use this time to check for alignment between your values and your wealth.
Grupo Murlota, it's a 10-year-old social enterprise that develops egg farmers in Mexico. The business promotes income generation for rural Mexican women while simultaneously improving nutrition for their families. In that area of the country, formal jobs are very scarce. So Grupo Murlota is a real alternative for a dignifying job with a weekly pay, with a very easy-to-learn value chain where they can earn money and improve their nutrition. Beneficial Returns gave a loan to complete the construction of its third facility where they can incubate chicks and offer training to new producers in Sinaloa so they can now reach a whole new geography in the northern part of the country.
One common thread of all our TRF borrowers is that they benefit indigenous people who are really the guardians of biodiversity on our planet.
In Indonesia, we have 17,000 islands. Even Forest Island, not so big, but there's about 5 to 6 different ethnicity. And we're specifically working with Lama Holland people, almost 200,000 people there. One of the biggest issues is nutrition. They're doing subsistence farming. And so they don't have cash to buy any other source of nutrition that doesn't grow in their own fields, especially with proteins. When we started about 9 years ago, we want to see if there is existing skill in the community that we can leverage so that there's additional income year long. And so that's why we found about microweaving, that they don't see any economic value on it. However, we see a lot of potential. Simple tweaks in the design actually give additional economic value out of the product.
We have been focusing on business-to-business transactions, although B2B transactions has lower margin, but the volume is relatively higher, which means that more women artisans can be involved in our community, and hence more impact we can spread for the women and the families. We provide training from giving them design input, quality standardization training, and then we help to sell the products as corporate souvenirs and merchandises for companies, government, conferences, as well as hotel amenities in Bali and tourism places in Indonesia.
One thing I've learned in any type of businesses is that time, competency, and capital, all three are needed. It's holistic. And I wanted to take a very holistic approach when I help and I work with social enterprise to redefine social enterprise and bring them to sustainability. A good business is a good business and can survive, right? And if it's a bad business, even if you put a label of social enterprise on it, it's still a bad business. I like the whole debt financing because what then happens is it builds fiscal disciplines to the business. I see the rigor of looking through a business, properly. The questions that you're asking, the surveys that you're doing, anyone who runs through that would get a sense, am I in the right place? Or what are the places or what are the areas in my business that I need to change? Just like a mini bank, you put your money in a bank and a bank loan the money out, right? So in the case of beneficial return, you did that in an area that no one wants or very little people wants to go in, and you operate with the same compliance, with the same type of due diligence, and you help the entrepreneurs, but at the same time, our capital goes also in a good way, very purposeful, and we still get our returns as well.
As of today, our portfolio remains strong. All borrowers, save for one, pay their monthly invoices on time. That borrower is struggling and requested to pay interest only this year. However, we're comfortable because the loan is well collateralized and they are 100% cooperative, keeping us updated on their plans to get back on track. Since inception, we facilitated $7.7 million in loans to social enterprises in Latin America and Southeast Asia out of the Beneficial Returns Fund and the Reciprocity Fund, which is almost twice the initial investment of our investors. And we can do that because of the borrower's consistent and on-time repayments and also loan participation sold to other investors. As of today, we've repaid over 1 million to our fund investors. And of the almost 8 million loans made, we've dispersed almost 2 million just in the first half of this year. And we have about $1.6 million of opportunities lined up in terms of term sheets signed and prospects under underwriting. So it's an exciting time for beneficial returns. And to discuss our broader plans, I'd like to turn it over to Ted.
It's wonderful to see everybody on the screen. So historically, this is where I beg all of you for money, and I will. But first, I wanted to give you an update because 6 months ago, our goal was to raise $750,000 for the Beneficial Returns Main Fund, and I'm really happy to say that we nearly met that goal. We raised $700,000. That included a grant, a $50,000 grant. So that's permanent capital that we can lend to social enterprises in perpetuity, which is tremendously valuable to us. And so we are raising money, but we're actually in a pretty good spot. And I'm going to break every rule of fundraising. You know, fundraising, you're supposed to create urgency. You're supposed to appear desperate. We're doing well. We have some funds available for us to lend. Our pace is increasing, so we know we need to raise more money before the end of the year. But we're in a comfortable spot right now. And our goal is by the end of October to raise $400,000 for our main fund and to raise at least $500,000 for the Reciprocity Fund so that we can really double down on social enterprises that benefit Indigenous communities.
I'm just going to read you a very short excerpt of an email I received from Frank. Ted and I met him in New York a couple of months ago. As you may know, we've been under a blanket of smoke from wildfires burning in Quebec. I came to work hoping my car would filter out the smoke particulates. With one lung and asthma, I should not be breathing the air right now. I'm fine, I take my meds, and everything is okay. The smoke is supposed to start dissipating around midnight tonight. I will say that I do not remember, even in the smog days of New York City, smoke as intense as this. It was hard to watch the sun rise as I came into the office from Pennsylvania. This is yet another example of how connected we are. Fires in Canada, and I'm calling to see how my granddaughter is doing in DC, also blanketed by this smoke. She's 3, born during COVID, and according to the doctors, children born at the beginning of COVID have much weaker lungs than most children. As of yesterday, she was also doing fine. I love his empathy, and I just love a brother like that. And I thought that is a nice way just to remind us of how connected we all are. My encouragement is for all of us, myself included, to take this call as an alignment check of our values and our money. And with that, I'd like to close the call.